We got a wealth of knowledge here, so feel free to jump in too.
All right, sounds good.
Can you hear me okay,
I can
Andrew?
hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Dude, awesome. I'm on the road, so when I'm on the road, my shit's always a little wonky.
Dude, especially when it's live, something always gets weird.
Yeah, I like it. Hey, dude, I used to I'm about 2,000 shows in. I've been doing a show every morning now at 7 a.m. for 3 years, more or less. And I remember when I would like guests wouldn't show or something like
And just like that.
right, right. Oh yeah, you froze.
Yeah.
And I remember when guests wouldn't show, I used to fucking like break into a sweat. But now I'm like, bring on the car crash. Let's do it.
That's great. That's a one awesome way to look at it. I remember my first couple of episodes, like I would move my mouth, but like no sound came out. I was always super timid and super freaked out about the whole situation. But 1,000 reps in, you start getting used to it for sure.
Dude, that's like my guy Caleb you saw down there. When we first started this, he wouldn't say a thing. And then the other day, I wasn't on a show, and he was just on a show alone with Matt Souza, and I couldn't believe it. He was going off. I was like, shit, I got to leave the show more and just let him go off. This is fucking
That's awesome.
Caleb stories. Yeah, I know.
And so Caleb, that's the that was the guy in the Subaru sweater.
Yeah, basically how we run the show is how we started the show is when we first started the show, he was deployed overseas. So he was out in the middle of nowhere. So we kind of had him sequestered, didn't have to pay him a dime. He just did it every morning because he had an hour and a half, right? And he was like, fuck anything else besides being out here in the desert. So it would be just me and him every morning. And then I have Matt Souza as the executive producer. He comes on probably a third of the time. And he's in charge of basically collecting money from people, strong arming people, and scheduling.
You got to have the muscle, right?
Gotta have the muscle. Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, our guy's in SEMA, and he's one of the most elite jiu-jitsu athletes on the planet. So that's our muscle. So when it comes to like, talking to sponsors and stuff, we're like, oh, cool, we'd love to have you on board. Meet in SEMA, and then it's like, oh my gosh, like here we go. So yeah, that's a good approach to have towards that sort of thing.
What's cool about Nsima too, Andrew, is he has both skills, right? He's completely disarming, charming, gentle. Like when I met him, I couldn't believe just what an amazing vibe that dude had. But obviously, if you just scratch the surface a little bit, you see he's eminently capable of tying someone into a knot.
Yeah, absolutely. He was one of the reasons why I got into jiu-jitsu myself, just because like he had been pushing it on me for years at this point. But I was always, again, like I said, super timid, always just like the person that would shy away from confrontation and just close quarters and stuff. And it's like, dude, I don't like people in my space, and you're telling me that you want me to go like roll on the ground with some sweaty dude and have him be on top of me and trying to choke me and stuff. It's like, no, I'm not interested. But what ended up happening was, along with him and a couple of other people, we had people on the show where they had mentioned how jujitsu like really got them out of a bad situation. And I mean, like in immediate situation, like Bedros Keuilian was talking about, he was on a plane where some guy just went nuts. Like he just started freaking out, probably on some kind of medication mixed with alcohol or something. And the guy was like, I'm going to kill everybody on this plane. And I didn't know this, but like stewardess and like people on the plane can't like arrest somebody. They have to ask the person that's going nuts. They have to ask them, hey, can you put on these zip ties and like put them around your back and like calm down. And so when they asked the crazy person that, they were like, they freaked out even more. So Bedros got up and he tried to calm him down. And sure enough, that made him even more upset. Bedros was able to take him down, put him in, I think he took his back or something, but that was after just like a couple of weeks of jujitsu training. He's like, my wife was on the plane. My whole family was on the plane. Nobody was going to be like willing to step up to protect everybody. Well, I need to at least protect my family. So he stepped up and he did that. And I was like, damn, that's huge, because right at that time, my son was just born. And I was like, I want him to get into jujitsu. So if I want him to do it, I think I got to do it first. So that way I'm not one of those parents that's like always telling their kid to do this and do that, but they don't actually do it themselves. So I got into it. I have an amazing like community that I'm a part of now. I have some of my best friends that like I get to talk and hang out with. Like I was talking to them right before this show as well. But yeah, there's my boy Bedros. And like because of that, like I'm like such a different person now. Like in everything that I do, it's freaking incredible. And that's just one of the reasons why like I can wake up early and do a show like this where like before I probably wouldn't have been able to even like have enough like stability to click the button to join because I'd be so nervous from shaking and stuff.
You think jiu-jitsu gave you that?
Absolutely. Oh, 100%. So definitely the reps, right? Like putting a like as Mark would say, putting some points on the scoreboard,
Mm-hmm.
that absolutely helps. I call them base hits. So like when I would be a full-time photographer and I was, commissioned to like take product shots or take shots of a model or whatever it may be, I'd be like, okay, let me get the basic stuff, right? Let me hit a couple of base hits. All right, cool. I got some stuff that I could deliver to the client.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Now let's start swinging for the fences. And that's how I developed some confidence with like my work and stuff. And I carried that all the way through into podcasting as well. But doing that helped. Doing that on the mats, it just like night and day difference because it's like, okay, here's this dude that outweighs me by like 40, 50 pounds, and I just made him literally give up, right? He
Mm,
tapped.
mm,
Like
mm,
we're practicing, it's not a real fight. We're having fun, we're learning. But even still with that, go back a year ago and I couldn't do stuff like that.
mm,
And so it's like, yeah, all of a sudden you kind of look around, your chest is a little bit higher. Like, yep, I tapped somebody today. Like, what'd you guys do? It's like, oh,
mm.
you didn't do anything. So stuff like that absolutely helped.
Andrew, how long have you been doing it?
Jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I started in November of 2022. So yeah, a little bit over. Sorry, did I get that right? A little bit over a year and a half. We'll say it that way. Yeah.
Are you close to getting your blue belt?
According to a buddy of mine, yes. But lately,
Rumors have it.
yeah, well, he just so my buddy Chris, he's like always pushing me to compete and stuff, and I really appreciate it. And I have competed, didn't do very well as my first competition, but he's like, "Hey, you need to make sure you get a couple more competitions at white belt because come promotion season, which isn't like an official season, it just once somebody starts getting promoted and then all of a sudden it's like the next person gets promoted and so on and so forth." He's like, "I don't think you're going to make it past the next promotion season as a white belt." So, yeah, I got to just, quit being such a wuss and go out there and compete. It's just one of those things where it's like it's not like a super top priority to be a competitive athlete in jiu-jitsu. Like in SEMA, that's his thing. He's trying to become a
Oh,
world champion.
oh, that is Nsima's thing. I didn't
Yes.
know
Oh,
that.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything is for like his ability to become a champion. So like everything he does, all the stuff like he was, doing jump ropes in front of the studio yesterday, all that stuff is to help improve his chances of becoming a world champ. And he will get it. I believe he'll get it this year at brown belt, and then at some point in the future he'll get it at black belt as well. And he's on the brink of doing both of those things, getting a world championship and then also getting his black belt because it's going to kind of happen one after another. For myself, it's not really my thing, like I'm not, my thing is this is my thing right here, this is what I
Mhm.
love to do. So over the past, since December, I've been focused on building out this studio and actually building out a course for people to like, if anybody's interested, like if someone's listening right now and they're, like, hey, like I love podcasting. Maybe I want to take a stab at it, but I don't know where to start. That's what I've been working on. So I pushed a lot of my like priorities onto that and pulled them away from everything else, including jujitsu. So right now I'm kind of like on a maintenance phase with jujitsu, but I cannot wait to get back to being consistent and going, 3, 4 times a week. Cause man, that stuff is therapeutic and you just feel like a badass and it keeps you in great shape. I haven't really done anything that's gotten me shredded without trying quite like jujitsu. So
Mm,
yeah,
mm.
it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we will come back to jujitsu because you said something in one of these posts about how it affected your back. And to tell you the truth, as I was researching you yesterday, you may have pushed me over the edge. I've had some great excuses not to do jujitsu, but I do spend 5 days a week or 6 days a week in a jujitsu studio. And I still haven't tried it, but you may have pushed me over the edge. You guys are looking at Andrew. I hope I pronounced this right because I'm really excited about your last name, Zaragoza.
Yes, sir.
God, what a great last name.
Thank you.
What a great last name. Andrew Zaragoza. I met Andrew a month or obviously I knew who he was from the Mark Bell Power Project podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And Greg Glassman had the honor of being on that podcast. We drove up to Sacramento, and I got to sit there in the one-man audience and watch. I got to see Andrew's amazing setup. I got to see the studio he built, and I got to see Nsima and Mark Bell and Greg Glassman have a really great conversation. And then afterwards, I was tickled that I got to meet Andrew. I'm a full camera geek, computer geek. I just don't have as much time for it, but I do spend a little bit of time every single day still looking at all the electronic stuff out there and the newest cameras and cables. So I was like, and then I reached out to you and I said, hey, I'd love to have you on the show. And particularly at that time, I was really curious because you guys got booted off of YouTube, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that made a huge splash. But I also was like, hey, I got to learn more about podcasting setup. Tell me about this course you're embarking on.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I don't want to get like all cheesy and call it like
No, please.
another leap or whatever, but you know, like when I left my like 8 to 5 job to be a full-time photographer, and then that and doing some video work, and then eventually leaving that to be a full-time podcaster, it's not quite the same thing because it's still in the same realm, but this is definitely like another chapter in my life where I'm going to be helping others do what I love to do and actually instruct things and being an instructor and instruct them on how to do this stuff. And honestly, dude, like hanging out with you that day gave me so much confidence to actually go through with this because I had been, I think I've written 3 different outlines for an ebook on how to do all this. But again, you get the imposter syndrome, you get all the things, right? And then you realize like, man, it's kind of a pain in the ass to get all this taken care of and actually write stuff out. So I ended up kind of discovering like, well, what if I put it together in a course where I can be where I'm at right now and talk to you directly and teach you how to do all this. And I'm like, okay, that I can do. But then the imposter syndrome, the doubts, all that stuff came back in. But that day when you were firing off question after question after question. And I was like, oh yeah, you do it this way, you do it that way. And like answer, answer, answer. And I sat there after you guys left. It was funny. After I was like, oh, thank you, Mr. Glassman. And he like totally checks me and he's like, just call me Greg. I was like, okay, sorry, sir. He's like, Greg. Okay. Um, I sat there and I was like, holy dude, if I if I can help Sevan with some of this stuff, of course I can help several others with similar or lesser questions, right? Because when I got into the game, like this is no joke. Like when I first started, you know, following Mark around with a camera, he's like, "Hey, check out Sevan," and you know, he schooled me on everything that you're doing, and he's like, "That's somebody that you need to be paying attention to." Because right, I had been a photographer like freelance and you know, I've done like a little bit of content creation. I actually used to film rap videos back in the day. That was a lot of
Oh,
fun.
that's cool.
Yeah, nobody paid me for anything. That sucked. But
Hey, that's how this business starts.
yeah. Yeah, right.
Can I
Right.
film Can I film your wedding? Can I make a rap video for you? That's how this business starts.
Yeah, yeah. And so with that, and I ended up working with Mark for a tiny bit of time for free also just to show him that like, hey, like I'm good enough for you to hire me full time.
Yeah.
But anyways, so as I'm like getting into this like fitnessy side of capturing images and videos full time, he's like, that's somebody you need to be paying attention to. So being here right now, and then also that conversation we had, that was just like a huge boost in like, okay, yes, dude, like it's time. You need to start doing this and putting this thing together for real. So, you know, you go back to the drawing board, you know, I spent weeks trying to outline everything, and then I spent more weeks recording everything, and I'm still currently editing everything to try to put the whole package together. So, essentially for like anybody that's interested in starting a podcast, this course is going to help you launch, grow, and then if you're interested, monetizing your podcast. Now, that takes some time, but at least this will give you like a little bit of a blueprint to see exactly how, you know, things can actually go. But the first thing that people actually will say is, you know, like, doesn't everybody have a podcast? Like, isn't the podcasting space isn't like so oversaturated? Yes, there are millions of podcasts. There's somewhere between like 3 and 4 million. But check this out. 44% of all those podcasts, they have 3 episodes or less.
Wow.
And then
Wow.
they finished, right? So thinking about like COVID times and all that stuff when nobody had anything to do, they, they started a podcast thinking like, oh, this is going to be cool, like something to do. They did 2 or maybe even less. And they're like, dude, I'm not Joe Rogan yet. Like, this is actually kind of tricky and I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm done. So again, like you chop off a lot of the competition, but I don't even really think you should be looking at it as a competition. If we go even further, 720,000 podcasts have 10 episodes, but only 156 of them are still currently going. So if you want to get in the top 156,000 podcasts in the world, all you have
Which
to
puts you
do.
in the top 5%. I heard there's 2.3 million podcasts, like you were saying.
Mhm.
So already now you're in the top 5%.
Right. Yeah. And
At
so all you have to do is
150,000.
just
Yep.
keep doing that. Right. So if you put out, let's say, 1 episode a week for 10 episodes, do it again for the 11th, 12th, 13th. And now you're in the top, like you said, the top 5%. Like that's, yeah, it takes work. It's not easy. It's not free. Although what we're doing right now is free, right? Like everybody gets to hang out and we get to put this out on the internet for free. But, it does take some like initial buy-in, but I have a couple different options. Like if you just want to, get started with what you have now, like I'm not saying podcast off of your iPhone, but there is a way to do it to where you can connect it to your MacBook and it'll actually look really, really cool. Sorry, I love all this nerdy stuff, man. I get
No,
super
go.
pumped.
This is one of the main reasons you're here. Keep going. This is
Cool.
brilliant.
And then
Yes,
when it
yes.
comes to like the video side, like yes, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. You don't have to have multiple angles to be like looking extra dynamic. You can have just a simple camera set up right in front of you. The audio, on the other hand, that's where I would say you need to slow down and pay attention and actually get something that's like, that's going to make you sound good. And that's what I'm using right now. And this is one of the most popular microphones. And this is the microphone that I recommend the absolute most. This is the Samsung Q2U, and it's only a $60 microphone, and it comes with everything you need to get plugged into your laptop right now. So you can get, if you're digging this sound, you can get this sound for $60 off of Amazon right now. Like
Hey, do you have an Amazon store that people can click through so you get credit for it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. In the link in my bio on Instagram, so at I am Andrew Z, I have like a whole storefront for that sort of thing. So I appreciate that. Thank you. But yeah, there we are. It's me and my wife. So down towards the bottom where it's right there, that guy right there. To the left, sorry. So that's like a more upgraded one, but to the right, one more. That one right there, sorry. Yeah, so that's that microphone right there. Oh, they bumped it up in price. Those headphones are legit because, as you guys know, like studio monitors, they're just like a flat sound. It's not going to pump out extra bass. It's not going to mess with the EQ. It's just going to give you like a straight, sound of what you're actually recording and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's my recommendation right there. I'm glad I did that beforehand.
And just so you know, anyone who starts a podcast, all you need to do is have Graciano Rubio on. You get him, you get all your gear, have Graciano on the show, and then your show will automatically go to the next level. You'll put on the number of subscribers you need.
I need Graciano on mine then.
Hey, dude. I have like every piece of equipment in my studio you could ever imagine, and I thought I had the best studio in the world. And then I went over and looked at your guys' shit, and I looked the way it was set up, and I was like, "Holy shit! I have no idea what I'm doing." I could not believe how clean your setup was. I couldn't believe like I'm doing some dumb shit the way I'm running all the cameras through the internet as opposed to using that Black Magic box, even though I have one. I don't have that. My extra screens is just dumb shit. I didn't have all the camera angles to choose from. The way you had your stuff hanging from the ceiling, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but there's some problem with getting a couple external monitors working and then one for the group. And I wasn't able to crack that code. And you right away are like, no, you just need to bypass it this way. And I was like, oh my God, I need to be friends with this guy. I need to be able to call this guy at 3 a.m. and be like,
yeah,
hey.
no, I welcome it. And again, like that's an honor for me to hear from you, sir, because
Dude, it was so cool to see your setup.
Just hearing that again, it just helps with everything that I'm trying to do, but also like if we can be friends, that's fantastic. You know what I mean? Like I'm happy and ecstatic about that. But yeah, a lot of it is just trial and error. We want to have everything perfect right out the gate. And as we know, with essentially everything in life, as we get started, we're like, oh, wait a second, I need to, if this, then that. And okay, now I'm here. It's like, oh, but then I got, and then you keep going and going. And so it's like, and it comes with challenges every single time. Like, hey, Andrew, I want to be able to go live every single time. Okay, then we got to do it this way. Oh, I want you to be able to pull up stuff on screen that we talk about on air, but I want us to be able to see it, and I want the people to be able to see it. Okay, well, I'm going to need the monitor for that. And then how do I get the signal from here to there, but still into there? And, so all these things you just have to stop and think. And then you're like, okay, yeah, I could figure this out. And that's what I love about all of this stuff. Like, I mean, literally everything, especially now with the internet, with YouTube, podcasts, everything, you can figure it out, right? Like I don't have any like actual like education behind any of this stuff. Everything I've ever learned has been through trial and error. And of course, YouTube University. That's like my alma mater. Like I always go back to YouTube U, and I learn everything that way. So when, like if there is like a legit, like educated audio engineer that sees my stuff, they'll be able to like poke holes in it and stuff. But I'm like, hey, like I'm over 1,000 episodes in, like 80 million downloads. Like, I think we're
that's
figuring it out just
wild.
fine,
80 million downloads is
Yeah.
wild.
Well, it is cool. I get to, hang out with Mark Bell every day. So there's a lot involved with that.
Hey, when I first started, speaking about starting small or just beginning, my idea was I was going to podcast from my car because I was in my car so much. So I just mounted a phone in my car, and then I was like, hey, I'm going to do this show. And I was lucky enough to have Matt Fraser, the fittest man in the world, and Josh Bridges say they do a weekly podcast with me. And I was like, okay, cool. The first episode was a complete shit show, dude. It was, and I think we got 50,000 views because probably Matt and Josh were on it. Of course, that's why. And I had to pull over into a park with my kids in the back playing and finish the podcast. It was a complete shit show. And I realized, hey, I don't have a cellular network that's going to allow me to do this podcast from my car. It was going to be called driving my kids around, right? And then eventually I came inside. And then, and then eventually got the Roadcaster, and then just expanding cameras and et cetera, et cetera. But it's interesting. People do just have to start, and the commitment, you have to have a commitment, and you have to try to make it past 10 episodes. Yeah. That's my very first podcast. Yeah. Look it.
Dude, I love that.
That's the show.
That's perfect.
Crazy, right?
That's what I mean. Like, I mean, in my opinion, that is kind of perfect, but it doesn't have to be this. It doesn't have to be, what we have at the Power Project. It doesn't have to be Joe Rogan. It could be just like that. Like, look, like Matt has just window lighting, right? Like he doesn't have like a legit studio light. And I mean, shoot, if I could get 50,000 views on the video, like I would be ecstatic. So that's really, really cool. And then your kids are in it too. So that's amazing.
And then eventually what happened is then I moved inside to my living room, and then I moved to another room. And then the crazy part, what really elevated my game, is on my birthday one year, my audience surprised me with a light up sign. So I used to just have no background behind me, and they put their money together and they bought a sign that said the Sevan Podcast. And that's kind of where I'm at now, but it's kind of funny, right? Like it was just in incremental steps. But the one thing I did do is I go on every morning at 7 a.m. Regardless. Yeah. So that sign, I used to just not even have that sign back there. And then they bought me that sign. And then all of a sudden now I look back at the old shows and I'm like, how did I ever do those shows without a sign?
Yeah. You got to have a sign. No. Yeah. And so in regards to that sign, how did it make you feel when you opened up this package and all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, like this connection that I have with somebody that prompted them to do this, like that had to feel amazing, right?
Dude, I walked into my office and there was a box of Kleenex on my desk. And I don't keep Kleenex or paper towels around in my office because I don't want anyone to think I go in there and jack off. I didn't want anyone to ever be like, oh, look, there's his jack off box. So I was like, oh, so I had already like an issue with Kleenex being around me. And I was like, this is really weird. I wonder how this got in here. I assume one of my kids brought it in or was fooling around in my office. And then like 15 minutes into the show, my wife walks in with the sign. She was in cahoots with the listeners. And dude, I cried. I seriously probably cried for 30 minutes. I could not stop crying. It was wild. And they bought me an 80-pound dumbbell. an
Whoa.
80-pound dumbbell and a sign for my birthday. Dude, it was crazy. It was
I just wanted to make
absolutely
sure he
wild.
told that story. He didn't hold back. The dude was he was bawling. It was on air. It was perfect.
Oh,
He was just,
nice.
it was like probably, and then I think there was a video associated with it too. So it was like a whole thing. It was great.
That's incredible. So yeah, it kind of along the same lines. So my buddy Matthew, he sent me that guy right there. So
Oh yeah, that's dope. What's it say?
it says you can take me everywhere. So my mom died January 11th of this year, and so when Mark's mom died, he just went right to his phone and he started, kind of like it's almost like therapy. He went
Right.
right to his phone and recorded a podcast about his mom. And so he was like, "Hey man, I just, throwing it out there. Do you want to honor your mom the same way I did and record your thoughts right now?" I'm like, "Yes, I do." And so I told this story on that episode, how right when I got the phone call, so I'm like, devastated. I'm laying down on the ground and my son, he's playing with like all his toys, just having fun. Just like a lot of fortunate kids, he has way too many toys, right? He's got
Uh-huh.
a pick of like 1,000 toys. Of all the toys, he picks the one that she gave him last, right? Like that was the last gift that she gave him. I've never paid attention to this freaking toy. It's sitting there quiet by itself, and I'm like, "Come on, kid, of all the toys for you to pick, you pick that one." It's staying by itself, and it just all of a sudden goes, "You can take me everywhere." And so,
Oh
like,
wow.
that just dude, I was totally just, like, crying, going nuts. So my friend Matthew, he heard that on the show, and he sent him and I think maybe it was, like, a collaborative thing, but he's the one that sent that over, and I was the same thing, dude. As soon as I opened it, just quiet, just start bawling, and I'm like, all this stuff because of a podcast, right? We can get our thoughts out and we can make these amazing connections, and in my opinion, have so much meaning and purpose in this world, right? Like it might be taken a little bit too far if you're not really familiar with like the reach a podcast has. I've
Mhm.
received DMs on people talking about like how I've helped them with back issues, or our podcast has gotten people to stop drinking or stop doing drugs, like all kinds of like huge things that we can't figure out in this world, right? Like, how do you get somebody to stop drinking? It's like, well, try, I don't, not bashing like AA or anything, but like we know the statistics of how unsuccessful stuff like that can be. But yet here's a podcast that somebody listens to. They want to get jacked, they want to get in shape, they want to get in better, overall health. And then now that's the thing that prevents them because they get to hang out with me on air. Like, dude, of course this thing is so important. It's way more important than getting a couple of downloads and a couple of views and, having a cool sponsor or whatever it may be. Like, this is like life altering. And that's really why I got into everything, why I got into content creation, photography. I remember the first time that one of my images made somebody cry. I made a groom cry because I took a picture. I think it was like his dad and like his brother or something. It was like a cool moment that wasn't supposed to happen. And I happened to like capture it. And he's like, "I didn't even know you captured this. Like, what the heck?" And he just starts crying. So that's when it hit me. I was like, "Oh, like I'm trying to make an impact on this world, right? Like this 8 to 5 job where I don't matter, right? Like I was in a medical records. I just, I wasn't very happy with it, but I noticed one day that, if I disappeared, like nobody would even notice, right? Like, because the stuff I was doing didn't make any impact on the world.
Mm.
The images I create and capture, like that's going to get printed out. That's going to get, admired, and that's going to make somebody feel some type of emotion. Like, oh shit, this is actually what I need to be doing. Then that, progressed into podcasting. And now that impact is like at least 100 times bigger and way better than I could have ever imagined. And man, I think that's why, like, I believe that's why I was put on this planet, was to make that type of impact. And now I'm doing it through podcasting, and I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah, in my world, I don't see any of my listeners because I do my podcast and then I'm with my kids all day. I'm at some sort of kid event, right? I homeschool my kids. And so I don't ever see any of the listeners. And I went to the CrossFit Games last year to film the behind the scenes, and that's where all my listeners were. And that was a crazy moving experience for me. to see how kind and generous, really just how generous, emotionally, intellectually, everyone wanted to bring me something. And it was crazy. It's because at that point you realize, holy shit, I really am involved in people's lives. And the other thing too is just trying to keep up in the DMs. I try to respond to it's hard, but every day I try to go through at least 100 DMs. I try to sit down for an hour, 2 hours, and just at least say thank you, or and mostly the listeners here are just sending me content for the show.
Nice.
They just things that they want to maybe see on the show. But you're right. It is it's crazy. It's pretty wild. I take it for granted, or I'm oblivious to it. I'd say 90% of the time, 95% of the time. But when you do realize it, like when they send you the sign or you see them in person, it's like, holy shit. Yeah.
Yeah. What I was going to say was, like, as somebody that's on this side of the camera, it some days it legitimately does feel like you're just talking into a wall and like nobody's listening, because again, another weird stat, but like, at least for our show, if somebody listens to an episode on Monday, they're not going to listen to the episode on Tuesday. It's like almost like a 50-50 split where somebody will not continue to keep watching. And so like the same questions get asked over and over, like when we do a live show and stuff. And I was like, dude, like, man, is anybody paying attention? Like, what is, like, come on. But the thing is, it's just like, yeah, because people miss stuff. But when you do get some of those DMs, or like, we haven't gone to an expo in a long time, but when like people would like recognize me, and I'm like, oh, like, this is weird, like
weird.
It's,
cool. It's really weird, right? Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. And again, if I can help somebody like make their commute a little bit better, or make their work day a little bit better, then I mean, it's my responsibility to continue to do this sort of thing.
You said your mom passed away this January 11th?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Cancer. And I know you like you go down some of these cool rabbit holes, so we can definitely go down that one. But yeah, it was stomach cancer. She had been fighting it for, I think, 4 years. I lose track of time. Again, that's another thing when you're in content creation. It's, you don't know what day it is, because we don't work on a Monday through Friday.
Right.
And then as an
I never
owner,
know what day it is. I'm glad to hear you say that. I never know. I don't even know what month it is, dude. I don't know any of that. It's so weird.
Yeah, as somebody that, owns a podcast and runs it, Monday through Friday doesn't exist. It's kind of like a 24/7 thing, just like a real business owner. But yeah, so she passed away, and I actually got some shit on the podcast the other day, because I had verbally said, on air, like, statistically speaking, at least 1.5 more persons in my immediate family are going to get cancer, right? Because it's like a 50% chance that we're all gonna get cancer, and there's 5 of us. So I'm like, hey, we got at least 1 more, potentially 1.5 more. And I had said, like, yeah, if it's me, I am not gonna follow traditional medicine. And we were talking about like the importance of a podcast, right? Because somebody had put out a video about how like modern day health podcasts are kind of dead because we have all this conflicting information or whatever. And my thing was, no, I'm going to actually listen to the podcasts more than I am going to listen to traditional medicine, because I got a first person view about how unsuccessful that was, right? Like, I would show up to the doctors and I would say, like, hey, look, she had cancer in her stomach. I'm like, she can't eat anything. I'm like, she can't do anything. Like, she's just living off of like injections, right? Like, I forgot what it's called, but she was just getting her nutrition like intravenously. And I'm like, how about we start getting in some, I don't know, collagen protein via like a powdered drink. I'm like, she has no fat on her. She needs some MCT oil. So let's get some MCT oil powder and let's start running with it that way. They thought I was crazy. I'm like, okay, well, you want to give her Ensure and I'm the crazy person?
Right.
You are telling.
What are the ingredients on Ensure? Jesus.
They're awful. But here's the other thing. They were like, okay, yeah, I know solid foods are hard on you, but you can have ice cream every once in a while if you want.
Oh my goodness.
And I get it, right?
Goodness.
Calories, like you're not
Right.
getting any calories. but I'm like, elementary school level, cancer prevention, cancer treatment, we all can point to the keto diet working or not working, whatever. We know
Look what
that.
the third ingredient is on that, Andrew. Corn maltodextrin. That cannot be good.
So that's what I'm saying, man. So like
Yeah.
when I said that, I got some pushback because people are like, people are saying what people say. And I'm like, dude, like, why would I don't have any reason to listen to doctor's advice after they told my mom, no, don't have, clean fats, don't have clean proteins. Sure, because we have it in stock right now, no big deal. That's going to be the thing that's going to help you feel better. And I'm like, dude, unfortunately, she was like, I mean, I don't blame her. She was really scared in that moment, right? It's like they gave her
Yes.
they gave her a death date, and she didn't want that, but she was like, I'm going to listen to everything they say and, do everything. And, so obviously, and the thing that really got me the most upset was their protocol for the whole thing amongst that. But they were like, yeah, we're just going to do chemo until, and they would say stuff like this, we're going to do chemo until the host expires. And I'm like, like,
oh, wow. And
you
that the
mean
host is meaning your mom.
and expire as in when my mom dies?
Right.
That call me crazy, Mr. Doctor person that went to school forever to figure this stuff out. Like, something tells me that that's not right. Like, there has to be a better way because your track record, you guys are not doing really good. Your batting average is awful. There has to be a different way. And, so that's essentially what happened. And, I watched it happen. I tried to intervene as best I could, but that's what ended up happening. And yeah, so she died in January, and a week after that is when the YouTube channel got shut down. So it's been
Wow.
quite a year for me for sure. Yeah, man.
Hey, there are protocols out there that turn doctors into docents of death instead of helping you, and their words betray them, right? Basically, we're going to give you this poison to fight your illness until you die, and it's like that doesn't sound like a sound plan. Just even your wording of it doesn't sound. Um, the wording betrays them. Someone sent me something a few days ago on Instagram, and they were like, hey, because of, I forget what the word was, but in the 1980s, because of protocols and laws that the Republicans passed, it gave corporations a shitload of power. And when they gave those corporations a shitload of power, the corporations ran amok and ran out of control, and they started basically running the world. So I wrote back to this person, and I didn't understand the video they sent me. I didn't understand what I would have to do. It was just all rhetoric. I would have to like actually look in and not take their word on what these people were saying and see what the tax laws were that were passed that were based on the premise of this video blaming some Republican laws. But I wrote back to the person and I said, let me tell you what I saw with my own eyes. You're using the discernment of someone telling you this. Let me tell you what I saw. I saw the Democrats in all the blue states during COVID shut down tens of thousands of small businesses and put them out of business, while Baskin-Robbins, Walmart, and Macy's got to stay open. So what I saw is that the Democrats protected the corporations and then killed the small businesses with their protocol. So you can tell me all of that. But I saw in South Dakota, they didn't close. They didn't force the small businesses to close. I saw what happened they did in Florida. I saw what they did in Texas, and they got to stay open. So you can outsource your own discernment if you want. But I'm telling you what I saw and what I trust my own discernment as a larger portion. Now, I'm not saying that there might not be some validity what this person told me, but I couldn't even understand what they were saying. It was indoctrination. Whereas I can actually tell you, hey, there used to be 6 restaurants here before COVID, and now they're all gone because they had to close their stores. And I've had 10 of the business owners on my podcast, and they've told me, and blah, et cetera, et cetera. So you're right. That's the thing, right? That's, I think, what you're describing. You have your own discernment that was like butting up against the indoctrination that these doctors went through. And let's not get it twisted. They are indoctrinated. Now, I'm not saying, obviously, if you get shot by a gun, you need a doctor right away. I mean,
right. Absolutely. Yeah. If it's in a cute thing. Yeah. Like if I can't stop the bleeding. I'm grateful for doctors. I'm grateful that I live where I live and I can do that. But again, when it comes to cancer or whatever you want, we can talk about COVID, but all this stuff, like it just seems like there is an agenda behind it. And I don't know, have you had a chance to check out Dr. Jack Cruz?
If I refresh me, maybe I have, maybe I haven't.
So he goes pretty hard in the paint with like, kind of pushing back because he used to be, somebody on the other side that would follow everything by the book. And he was on a podcast and we actually just had him on recently. I have to publish that episode still, but he will. Yeah. He mentioned that the books that people have to deal with in medical school and stuff, they're like 95% incorrect. So like all the information that these doctors think to be like, no, I have all the answers. Trust me, you simpleton. I went to school for this. Turns out that maybe that the stuff that they learned wasn't even accurate. And like I
Right.
said, Jack Cruz goes hard, dude. He does not hold back. On the episode, he called us a bunch of clowns because we think that it's calories in, calories out, and food is causing all kinds of issues. And he wasn't really necessarily like actually calling us clowns, but he was calling us because we're on like the fitness side of things. He's
Right,
like, you clowns this, you clowns that. And he was like pretty abrasive.
right. I like
I
it.
loved it. I think it was an amazing podcast, and I can't wait to publish that one because again, he talked a lot about sunlight and stuff, and all this stuff that you don't hear in a regular like medical facility. The only way you're going to hear it is if you tune into a podcast, right? And like so, again, back to the impact of a podcast, that could potentially save someone's life. Like, dude, that's incredible.
I'm going to ask you. That's a good segue into how you guys got kicked off of YouTube. But before I go there, what if someone wants to get your services to help them with a podcast? Where do they go to? Will you do consulting? Will there be a course? Where do they buy the course? Where do they jump in?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's at pursuepodcasting.com. It's not officially like up and running. Like you can go there and get updates and whatnot, but that's where everything's going to be. And again, I don't know how to do a website. I don't know how to do any of this stuff, but that's where everything's going to be. So, again, coming soon and that sort of thing. But yeah, towards the end of this conversation, I'll have something cool for people to check out if they are like, again, if you're listening and you like, hey, maybe I do want to pursue podcasting. I have a really cool gift for you at the end of this podcast that we'll get into. But yeah, that's where everything's going to be. I'm going to do some consulting. Like I'm already doing that now, but like as simple as like one-on-one phone calls, that's one thing. The course itself, that'll be another thing. All of it's going to be right there at pursuepodcasting.com. Sevan, thank you so much for asking me that question. I really appreciate that. That's a pro podcaster move right there.
Hey, so let's say there's someone who wants to build out a podcast studio. In there, let's say in Cancun, could they fly you? Could they be like, hey, send me an equipment list, they buy all the shit, and then they pay you money and you fly out there and set that shit up for them, pay you $5,000 and you set that shit up?
Yeah, I've done that. So I've done that for Sean Baker, so like the OG carnivore. So
yeah,
I did his spot. In talks with Mike Dolce to do his, and yeah, that's something that I do. I'll like truth be told, like I don't love leaving my house. Like I don't love leaving the family. I don't love doing that. But so like for Sean Baker, he's a friend. So I'm like, yeah, dude, of course I would love to do that. Mike Dolce, same thing. Like me and him, we chat every once in a while. He's actually helping my wife with her diet and stuff. I'm like, dude, I absolutely would love to go help you. It might be a case by case basis, but what I'll say for sure is like the course will help you like speed things up and actually help you decide like, okay, wait, maybe I can do this. Or the cool thing it would be is like if you had your producer, you can be like, hey, check out this course and like build it for me. Like that would be like huge for him. Like that's what you would be able to do with this thing. So as soon as it's done, it's absolutely yours. But yeah, that's something that I can do. And again, I just have to really decide if I'm going to open that up to everybody or if it's just going to be like a referral type of thing. Again, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like I am learning as I go. Same thing with like that website, it's like, I don't even know if people are going to actually like if they sign up for like updates or whatever, if I'm going to be figure out how to actually get those updates to them, but I'll figure it out as I go. I've been able to figure out almost everything else out as well. So yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
But you know what? That's how all the greats do it, right? Like when James Cameron, I mean, he made Terminator. He had special effects in there. He had no idea how to do. Then he made the Titanic. Every movie he embarks on some shit where he's like, "Fuck, I have no idea what I'm doing," right?
Yeah.
And they get it done, and that's what you've been getting done. How what did you guys ever go live? You did go live.
Yeah. We used to go live every episode. I want to say it was like the first, I don't know, like maybe, man, I apologize. Like maybe like the first 100 episodes. Like I don't remember exactly when we made the switch. Maybe even further than that. But man, you want to talk about figuring things out?
Why did you stop going live? So there's this byproduct. I didn't know. So people kind of, there's been these steps, but one of my friends, Dave Castro, the director of the CrossFit Games, told me, "Hey, I'll never come on your podcast unless you do it live. I'm not doing
Nice.
like I did one with him. And first he said, "Hey, you have to do them all with me in person." And then he said, "You have to do them now. I want to go live or else I'm not going to do them." So it forced me to start going live. Right.
Mhm.
And once I started going live, the byproduct was I started building this core group of listeners who wanted to participate in the podcast. And I was like, I didn't expect that, but that's what I have. And I fucking love it.
Mhm.
So I wonder why people stop going live. And Joe Rogan used to go live also, right?
Yeah. So,
So
Caleb, if you can go back to like the video side, and instead of clicking on live, if you can just click on like the videos and show like what that looks like. So, if you're able to tell a difference in the quality of even just the thumbnails here compared to what the live videos look like, a lot of stuff just simply got elevated once we stopped going live, right? Because it was like, oh shit, we got to go live. Let me just throw the stock, thumbnail up there and I'll figure it out later. And if I
yep.
would figure out, maybe I wouldn't. But with a regular upload, so there a couple things happen, but with a regular upload, I can kind of start with the title and then go from there. So like if we talk about, again, even in this conversation, like let's say you and your team, you guys think like, okay, the stuff that he was talking about like a podcast being meaningful and impactful, that's the main thing we're going to talk about, or that's the main theme of that episode. Okay, so that's going to be the title. Working title is podcasts are more important than you could ever imagine. When you go and you make like a trailer for that episode, like, okay, he talked about his mom having cancer. That's super important. Okay, that's really cool, but damn, it has nothing to do with the importance of a podcast in that context, right? Okay, so I'm not going to put that in my trailer. Oh, but he talked about this, he talked about that. That's going in the trailer. That's going in the trailer. I'm going to cut up this cool 30-second highlight clip of the episode as long as it is in line with that title. And along with that, the thumbnail will also be in line with that title as well. So now those three big levers, right? The hook, the thumbnail, and the title, all those things are going to be in alignment with each other. When we go live, oh my goodness, I have no idea what I'm going to title this. I don't have a thumbnail yet. I don't know what we're going to talk about. And that is also fantastic, right? That is one of my favorite things about podcasting, is because you go all over the place. But as far as like fan engagement, view watch time, view engagement, all these things, retention, all of it has to come from a promise and then executing on that promise. And that promise is the title, the thumbnail, and then that execution comes in that first like 30 seconds. So when you do all that, it just helps elevate the entire episode, because now you're getting way more traction. YouTube is like, oh shoot, more people are clicking on this video. Let's show more people. More people are staying on this episode. Let's show it to more people. And then you can see how like the cascade of all these little tiny wins can end up being a cool, like long video, or like well watched episode. So that was one of the reasons why we slowed down, and we like really wanted to execute well on each episode, right? We wanted to optimize as much as we can. The other thing, and I think this is potentially why, like Joe Rogan and a couple of other shows stopped going live. And, I don't want to be the guy that says this, but it turned into a business. So when we were going live, it was just a part of my like job, right? I was a photographer, videographer, and podcast producer. And then eventually like host as well, because I actually opened my mouth and started talking. But it was kind of just like not a side project, but it was something that Mark loved to do on the side, along with everything he does at Slingshot, Super Training Gym, all that stuff, right? It was just like, we'll podcast today, we won't podcast today, that
Mhm.
sort of thing. And this was with no sponsors. Once we took on sponsors, it was like, okay, we promised these sponsors that they would get, a couple of mentions per month or whatever. So like, okay, now we need to, and it's like, oh, by the way, like if you guys don't want to stop the podcast in the middle of it to mention sponsor A, B, C, I have to pump that in later. So what we would do is we would go live and then I would pull that episode down, pump in ads, and then republish it. And people would just be so confused. Like, dude, didn't I just watch this yesterday? Like, what's going on here? Why am I getting 2 uploads? And so we just decided like, all right, let's no longer do live. Let's slow down. And then like, let's really elevate the game by taking our time with optimizing every aspect that we can, and then include sponsorships, ads in the middle of each episode, just so that way it's not like, all right, Sevan, let's pause for a couple of seconds. Have you ever blah blah blah? Like a real like gross commercial. Instead, we just pump that in later, so that way our conversation right now doesn't get broken up.
Yeah. What do you miss about going live? Do you miss anything about going live?
Oh, I as a producer, I miss the fact that it's done.
Oh, right. Well
Right,
said.
yeah. So
I
like
see Caleb back there.
yeah. So
Dealing with that. Yeah, it's so nice. I just jump up when we get off the air. Caleb and I talk for 5 minutes, and then I just jump up and party.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. Well,
Yeah.
Caleb's doing an amazing job. That's exactly where you as the host should be, right? Like you shouldn't have to worry about like what tags should we put on this episode. Like that would take away from your focus on being a good interviewer and a good host. But yeah, that was one of the things. The other thing is what you just said, the community.
Yeah, what happened to your community? Were they pissed? These guys would fucking come find me and hang me if I didn't go live.
So it wasn't too bad, but the thing is like, yes, we missed out on a lot of cool conversations and connections. So we would have our regulars, right? Like I would see the same, people over and over. Like there's this guy named BMock. He was there from the very beginning. And, my friend Matthew, like all these people, like they would show up every time. And even if they couldn't watch the whole episode, they would just come in, leave a comment like algorithm or what's up guys, gotta run, gonna catch it later. Or they would ask questions. And then again, as like Caleb, I would be in the back. I would be in the conversation, but then I would be like, oh, so and so just mentioned, hey, like what about XYZ? And then so they'd be in the show with us.
Yeah, that's normal. Yeah, I do whole shows where I just hang out with these guys. We just talk shit and the whole show.
Yeah, so we so I miss that more than anything right there. Outside of those
why not do both, Andrew? Why not do both? And then not only this, like let me give you an example of how supportive these guys are. So there's podcasts that are significantly, so I have 3,000 followers on Instagram, right? And this show has 25,000 subscribers. There's people who have 1 million followers on Instagram and their shows get 500,000 subscribers, or their YouTube channel has 500,000 subscribers, but they don't move the needle like this show does. And I credit it to these guys, right? To these 200 to 400 people who are here every single morning.
Yeah.
They like every guest I have will text me 2 days later and be like, holy shit, I can't believe how many thoughtful people reached out to me. And it's like, and even I'm blown away because of how consistent it is. Don't you miss that?
Absolutely. And
like,
so
why not do both? Why not like do one? Like, I don't know. Why not do both?
Yeah, no, we just recently implemented live shows on Thursdays. So we do
Okay.
Yeah, because we've been itching for it, right? We're like, we put out the content that we feel is relevant, that we feel is impactful, that is good. But it's like, man, it'd be cool if we could just get like a pulse on what like the people that actually listen to our show, what they think or what they like. So there you go. So that was that's our new studio there. Still need a lot of acoustic treatment on that bad boy. But we like to go live on Thursdays, and we have somewhat of a topic, like, as a just in case nothing pops up. But man, as soon as we even just like put the link up, we have people asking questions, and it's the best. It is the absolute best. And you know, some similar questions get asked almost every single time, but every
Sure.
now and again we get stumped, or we have to really like dive like a couple layers deep into somebody's very complex question, and we really love and appreciate it. But yeah, that's what we've been doing on Thursdays, and I think it's really helped kind of revive that community again. Not that it was dead. We have an awesome Discord, very, very like popular Discord that's super active. Everybody, like, they're helping each other. Like, I'm like, holy shit, like this is incredible. Like, wow, like, you know, all these things that spawned off of a podcast that I never thought would be possible. But that community is incredible. Yeah. So I missed the live
How long have
during
you been doing this live show? Eating
uh
Beaver. Bam, we're live.
dude,
Yes, we are.
eating beaver, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's only been a few months, right? Like, we just barely brought it back recently, and every single time we do it, it gets a little bit better and a little bit better, and you know, the crowd gets a little bit bigger, and it's yeah, no, I'm super grateful that people show up. I'm super grateful that somebody's listening to me right now. Like, I'm super grateful for that. It's just, yeah, it's wild, man. I love it.
You recently moved your studio. I can only imagine. I know that burden falls on you. Why did you move? And tell me about the move. Were you like, fuck? Were you terrified again? Like going back to kindergarten? You're like, can I do this again?
Yeah, so the spot that you visited was in West Sacramento, and so we moved a little bit down Highway 80
You
to
moved all that stuff, that big warehouse, the gym, everything moved.
so everything inside the studio that you saw, I moved all of that.
But what about all the other stuff? Do you guys still have those offices? I mean, that was a massive complex.
So the offices are still there as of right
Okay.
now. The warehouse is gonna stay, but essentially, if you can remember, like, the door you walked into to get into the studio,
Right.
everything before that is gonna be gone, essentially. Like, they're gonna rent it out, like, sublease it to somebody, and then eventually somebody's just gonna take over. So, we ended up moving about 15 minutes away from that spot, a little bit more west to Davis, California. Beautiful spot, really, really
Mhm.
awesome place, just an amazing, you know, area to be in. I was not pumped because that's now an additional 15 minutes, if I'm lucky, because there's a lot of traffic in that area, an additional commute for me. So I'm the
Did the
furthest
gym
away.
move there too, Andrew?
So the super training gym is no more.
Oh, okay.
It is shut down. It's completely gone. Half of the equipment went to Mark's place. He built out this sick home gym. Like, just man, like, if obviously if somebody's going to do it, it's going to be him. Half of it went there. Half of it went to our new spot. Except we don't even really know what to call it, like the Power Project Gym, or like we're just not
Okay,
sure.
so you do have a gym for you and the staff of
Yeah,
the work there. Okay, okay.
yeah,
That's good.
that was a huge priority, because when we bring on some savages that have really cool stuff, like, thinking, you know, knees over toes guy, or just anybody, if we bring them into just a studio, it'll be cool. But how much cooler is it if we get a workout before the show? If we film some content before the show or after the show or whatever, you know, like, that was really important. And the only way you can do that is if you really have your own private gym. And what's cool is, like, it's ours, right? Like, nobody like, we have a couple of keys and that's it, and it's locked up. Nobody can just walk in and out. Like, it's just our stuff. So the reason why we moved, though, was because, like, the store that you saw, the gym that you saw, all that stuff is just going away. I believe Slingshot at some point might have like a walk-in store, but as of right now, it's going online only. So all of that stuff was no longer necessary. And so with that, it's like, well, shoot, we need to move all the stuff on this side of the building over here to this side, which means the podcast has to figure out where it's going to live. So we had to find our own spot. Essentially, that's what happened. We got not that we got kicked out, but we decided to move out of mom and dad's house because everything was always under the Slingshot umbrella. You know, we had Slingshot, we had, so, you know, Super Training Gym, the Power Project, all these other things. So we're finally like, hey, like, we've been our own business for a while now. It's time to go out and, you know, spread our wings and become our own thing. So that's what we decided to do. And if we're in Davis, we're a little bit closer to Mark, and so if it can be easier for him, and I can have him stick around as long as possible, then that's
Right.
totally worth it for me, right? Because just like we were saying with you, if you can just come in, podcast, and then bounce, that's good. That's what it's always been for Mark, and I want it to continue to be that. In regards to the move, though, oh my goodness, yeah, that was a task, and everybody's always willing to help, but it's just one of those things. Like, there's just too many chefs in the kitchen right away, right? Like, I'm up on a ladder, I'm taking stuff down out of the ceiling. Like, there's not really much anybody else can do. The thing that I really disliked was we started moving everything. I tore everything down like the week of, but the move itself was going to happen like Friday. And I'm like, guys, how about we wait till next Monday to move, and then after that we don't have a guest for like 3 weeks.
Mhm.
Then I can move everything and take my time, start building out the new studio, make it look good, make it sound good, all this stuff. And they're like, no, let's not wait, let's do it this weekend. So from from Friday to the next Monday, I moved the entire studio because I
Oh
needed to
my
get
God.
I needed to get it ready, up and running for Wednesday to podcast with Thomas DeLauer and Dom DiAgostino. I'm
Wow. Those are big guests too.
like, cool. At least it's 2 huge guests that we're gonna have on the show where I have to get all this stuff ready to go. But, again, you can figure out everything, and there's always a way. And so
Were
I did
those late nights? Were you there till like midnight, and were those crazy nights?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. The job had to get done, and there's nobody else that can do it as good as me, so I was the guy. And I did ask
Well,
for
you
help.
have to do it. You have to do it because even if someone else does it, you need to be able to troubleshoot it, right? Like
Yeah,
a week from
absolutely.
now, when there's a pop, you need to know where that cable is. You need to know. You have to know everything.
Yeah, the angles, all this stuff, like, where am I gonna, route these wires if, yeah, everything, right? I did ask somebody to put in some, like, cross beams for me, because like, at the old spot, we had a ceiling. This new spot is just like a big warehouse, so this ceiling goes on forever, so I had nowhere to mount my cameras, and we run 6 cameras. Having 6 tripods and having cables on the floor is just out of the question, right? That would
Right.
take up the entire spot. So, thankfully, my boy Tyler, he helped me install some like cross beams so where I can mount the cameras off the beams, kind of like the way I did at the old spot off of the ceiling. So that was really cool being able to do that. And then yeah, we got it taken care of. And the new spot needs acoustic treatment bad. If you were to design a room to be the worst space to record audio,
Uh-huh.
it would look a lot like what was in there. So it's gotten a lot better. And again, it's forcing me to get really good with my editing because, getting rid of the de-reverb. I don't know why in audio we got to confuse the heck out of everybody, but basically getting rid of the echo
Mhm.
has been a challenge, but like, it's fine. I'm getting over it. It's doing just fine. But yeah, so we we moved and I did it in like a couple of days. Moving that entire studio was a pain, but we're up and running, and again, now we get to rebuild and make it look a little bit different and a little bit better, and just yeah, keep moving forward.
How many years have you been doing it?
So total of about 6 years of podcasting, and then like content creation, I don't know, like probably like 13 years at this point now.
So you've been working with Mark Bell for 6 years on the podcast?
On the podcast, yes, and then I want to say a little bit over 8 years in total as a whole.
So a few months ago, you wake up in the morning and all 6 years of your work is just gone?
Yeah.
All your subscribers, everything, the whole channel's just gone? Like, what happens? You type in, you're probably like me, you wake up every morning, you check the stats, you see how things are going, make sure everything's good, make sure there's no copyright infringement or strikes or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I like waking up early and checking like the numbers and kind of hitting that refresh button to see if I get any comments on, hey, how come there's no episode? Like, how come the video file's jacked up or whatever? Like, because that
Right,
always
right. Why is the audio out of sync? Something.
right. That day was a little bit different. So I had just hung out with my dad the night before. Again, my mom just died. The night before was rough. We had I hung out late at his place. He lives about 30 minutes away from me, so I didn't get home till, oh man, I'm trying to remember. I got home late. It was a rough night, and I knew the next morning was kind of like out of the question for me to wake up early to get in here and film stuff. I was like, you know what? It was a rough night. Let's just I'm going to turn off the alarms, not going to worry about waking up early, going to sleep in till like 6, right?
Right.
When I get up, I met with so many text messages. It's not uncommon that like me, Mark, and Nsima will be in a thread and we'll just like start sending each other memes or we'll, go whatever. This was different. I'm like, what? Like, dude, Nsima's texted me like 30 times. Like, what's going on? And that's where it started. He was like, "Where's the channel? How come the channel's not there? Someone deleted the channel. The channel's gone or whatever."
He's like, yeah.
Like, well, when something like that happens, your mind just goes all over the place when you don't have an answer, right? It's just like,
Right.
what's like you start thinking like, oh, who hates us? Who
Yeah, right. Exactly.
who in the
hates you?
company
Yeah.
just went rogue and deleted everything as they flipped us off and took off. You start thinking of all these things. And sure enough, like, I checked my inbox and I got this oh man, this stupid email from like the official YouTube badge at the top, just saying that we
You might be disappointed, and we understand. You're like, disappointed? I'm gonna fucking kill myself.
think about it. Your entire I don't care how dramatic this sounds, my entire life's work was wiped off the planet. I had nothing to show for everything I had been working on for the past 6 years. This was my life. This meant everything to me. I wake up, I go to bed one night working on my dream, working on everything as hard as possible. I wake up the next day, everything I had been working for was gone. I no longer had a resume to show, hey, if you want to start a podcast, I can help you out. I don't have anything to show for it, but I promise. Consulting, position or whatever you want to call it. Like, yes, I can do that.
How about also that it was your job? You make a living from the podcast, right?
Everything I do comes from podcasting. The room I'm standing in, the equipment that's running everything, the house,
your underwear you're wearing,
the underwear, the house that's attached to this room, the food inside, the money that pays to keep everything running, all comes from podcasting. And in that moment, I could not do my job.
Did you go straight there, by the way? Like, oh fuck, my job's over.
No, that honestly, the money side of things wasn't even a thought. It was more of, holy shit, I can no longer get episode 2 back. It is gone. I can't.
You guys don't automatically back up to Rumble or something like that?
So we do, and we can talk about Rumble in a second, but I don't know, like not every episode gets pushed through. I don't know how to, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but yeah, so I do that, and I have crates full of hard drives that does have everything, but I don't have, like, they're not like fully edited episodes or whatever. Like, I just keep the raws. Now
this was your finished body of work with the reactions, the comments, the whole thing. This is your the edits, the commercials, the shit that you promised sponsors would stay there forever. All that shit gone.
The comments, right? The times where somebody mentions, hey, this is helping me lose weight. Hey, this is helping me stop drinking. Or because of the carnivore diet, I'm no longer in pain. Or all these things. It's completely gone. And I'm trying to. It was worded in a way that we got no answers. It was the most BS thing I had ever experienced, where it was something along the lines of, you violated one of the policies. Right. And again, even that wasn't very clear. Mark posted it on Twitter and Instagram. It's going to be hard to find it because he posts a lot of stuff, but he posted that, and this is where things were like, oh, wait a second, things could actually work out pretty well because of support that we got from that post. But even before that, before I get too much further into it, I understand that we're on their platform, right? Like you can't go into Subway and start making your own sandwiches and sell them right at the front of the store, right? Like I understand that. What I was not okay with was the fact that they just in the middle of the night, boop, your show's done. Your YouTube channel's gone and we don't have to tell you why. Oh man, you were able to find, dang, savage, Caleb. Hell yeah. So that's the email that they sent out. I think maybe that was the follow-up after I had said,
We've
like,
confirmed it violates our harmful. So that basically that's the appeal. We confirm
yeah,
it
that's the
violates our
appeal.
harmful and dangerous policy. We know this is probably disappointing news. I hate it when they
Imagine.
say that shit, but it's our job to make sure that YouTube is a safe place for all. Hey, was it a bot? Was it a bot that did it? Was it
I,
technology that banned you guys? Do you know?
I'd have to assume so, but after talking to a bunch of people, so like right when it happened, my buddy Mark Lobliner, he actually reached out and we hopped on the phone and he was like, yeah, dude, it's definitely a bot. And then as we're diving into it, he's like, the more we talk, the more I'm convinced that you just pissed somebody off and they were waiting for you to make a mistake. Right. Because we talk a lot about like, like the carnivore diet. We don't hate on like the vegan diet or anything, but a lot of the stuff that we push goes against the narrative that's kind of being pushed on us. We definitely talk about steroids and that sort of thing, but we go against the grain. And what he was saying, he was like, you know what, man, I think you just kind of got under someone's skin and they finally saw that you messed up and they're like, gotcha. And so they pulled the plug overnight. We had no warnings, we had no strikes on our channel at all. All right. People understand that like you can get a YouTube strike and it's kind of like a warning or whatever. I I like most people thought when you get a strike, you can get another strike, and then that third strike, you're out. But that's actually not the case. You can get a strike and then be completely gone according to what happened to us. And so that's what happened. We got no warning, nothing. Just again, that was very similar to the first email I got, which was like, I know you're disappointed, but your YouTube channel's gone and it's not coming back. Again, no information as to what or why it happened. It was just like, "Hey, you're done. See you later." And so that's how it happened. I woke up and, again, the YouTube channel was toast. And then so we started like, what happened? Like, dude, I literally just put the Sean Baker episode like set to schedule. I scheduled it out for 7 a.m. the next day, and it's not there. Like, why is it gone? Like, this doesn't make any sense. And so we have like one of our guys is a YouTube advisor, and he's like, yeah, it looks like the channel's gone. So let's
You
start.
did have wait, you did have a YouTube advisor?
So yes, but not, he doesn't work for YouTube. He's just one
Oh,
like our
okay.
go-to guy.
Okay.
And so he started kind of like advising us on what we could do next, but even he had nothing. And so when Mark put that post out, dude, we had my guy Jorge saved my life. We had somebody in the comments screaming, just being like, guys, I work for YouTube. Call me, DM me. I can help. And it's like, you never know, right? Like, you never know, especially on social media. Somebody might just be, I don't know, saying something just to get attention or whatever. But Nsima reached out to him, got on the phone, and sure enough, he's like, I listen to your guys' show every single day. I know for a fact that you guys do not put out any harmful information. I actually work in the like sports and recreation department of YouTube. I am going to fight and help you guys get your channel back. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like we actually might have a chance here. He went to whoever that he would have to go to try to reverse this. And
Yeah.
they're like, no, they violated the policy. And he's like, but what policy? And so he came back and he gave us some information, but they're like, yeah, they're very strict and they do not want to bring your channel back. We need some extra context. So
Hey, let me ask you this really quick, Andrew. With that loss of the channel, could Mark start a new channel, or would he have been banned forever?
yeah,
Pardon me?
there you are. I lost you. Sorry, but you're good now.
Would he have been banned forever, or could he start a new channel? What is the ban?
that was the concern, right? That's what we
Okay.
heard also. It was like, hey, once you're banned once, you're kind of banned forever.
Right. That's
So
what I
then,
heard too. Once you get kicked off, you can never use YouTube again.
yeah. So at first it was like, well, okay, if we, we lose the channel, we'll start up over again. We've been able to do it once and now we're going to do it even better. So that'll be fine. But then we started hearing stuff like that where it's like, no, once you're kind of blacklisted, you can't come back. So
Right.
thankfully we never had to dive into it because he's
Okay.
the weird thing is too is the rest of the channels that we're associated with were fine. So like the Super Training Gym channel was good. The Mark Smelly Belly YouTube channel was good. Like nobody was affected. It was just our podcast channel. So what was it? Oh, so we started
So
getting,
Jorge comes back and's like, you guys are fucked.
essentially that's what he said, but he's like, I'm gonna bug the hell out of them until they bring your channel back. Like I'm not gonna give up. So Jorge's this freaking savior. So what happened was we have another podcast on our podcast channel with this young guy, Kenny Williams, an amazing bodybuilder. He's only like 21 or 22, and he's a freaking mountain. He's so jacked. He's my favorite bodybuilder of all time. He's incredible. He and Mark have a podcast on our podcast channel. So it's like, we have like a network essentially. He has an affiliate code with a website, we'll say, that sells peptides. And so he's like, hey guys, like, is it cool if we put the link in the description? Like, it's just peptides. All right, cool. No big deal. Come to find out, they also sell research chemicals. And if you're in the know, that's basically code for steroids. We didn't know this. So we had to explain in this like letter that we wrote to YouTube, hey, like we understand now why why we got booted off of
How did you
YouTube.
guys figure that out? Jorge let you know that was the reason? Okay.
Jorge had to dive deep into like these emails and all kinds of stuff and like where things were flagged. But again, if we didn't have him, we would be toast. We would have no explanation. We would just have to be off of YouTube.
Right.
And that would definitely have impacted my life because like first off, I love YouTube. But
Right.
also what you were saying, it's like, well, shoot, like a lot of our traction and attention and growth and reach happens because of YouTube. And I freaking love YouTube. I love being on there or on here. And so without him, like, man, a lot of stuff could have happened, right? A lot of stuff could have changed.
Were peptides okay?
So as far as I understand, peptides are okay. It's kind of still gray area, but they're fine.
Okay.
They're okay. The issue was that this website had research chemicals.
Okay.
But again, we never got that explanation, and we never would have if it wasn't for Jorge. So we had to write this like long, drawn out email explaining everything that I explained. Like, hey, like we had no idea. This isn't even our main like podcast. Like this is just like a little sideshow that we have on our YouTube channel. We'll take them completely down. Like we'll never have them on if everything's cool. Like, and then so we did that. And then we got that email in like right at like 4:59 on a Friday, because Jorge was like, hey, like they're about to be closing up shop. Like if you can get that email to me right now, I can get it to them and then maybe we can get an answer, but at least we give it to them so that way they have it. It was like the longest weekend ever because we heard nothing after that. It was just,
what was it? You just sent them an email saying, we'll never do that again. We're so sorry. We didn't know.
We just explained everything, right? We're just like, this is our podcast. We're a health and fitness channel. Like we focus on just giving out good information. We never, ever promote steroids or we never, ever, tell people where to buy stuff. This was a complete accident. And we did not do our due diligence in looking at what our other shows are promoting. Now, we broke it down again and we showed them like, hey, we thought it was just peptides. We had no idea that they actually sold research chemicals. And we had said like, hey, like if need be, like we'll get rid of that entire show as long as we can have our show or our channel back. Like we'll do whatever it takes. Thankfully, they didn't say anything about that. They, just gave us permission to have our channel back. But that was a super long weekend, right? Like we heard nothing. And then towards the end of Monday, Jorge calls and he's like, guys, you're getting reinstated in about 15 minutes. And we're like, oh my gosh, like,
Wow.
oh, like he literally
Wow.
saved the day. Like he saved our freaking life because he paid attention to the show. He liked the show and he happened to work at YouTube in the perfect department for it. And so without that, yeah, we wouldn't have our YouTube channel, and who knows if we'd even be on YouTube because of that whole like weird like ban thing, right? Like once you get blacklisted, you're done for life. And you know, we did ask about like shadow.
Just really quick, research chemicals are different than research use. I'm just looking. So peptides are not research.
Yeah, no.
Are not research chemicals. Peptides though are considered in part of research use. I guess there's a distinction. Okay.
Yeah, so they had chemicals. So they had SARMs, they had prohormones, they had
they call those designer drugs and research chemicals. Okay.
Yeah, they had research oils on there as well. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, they're literally just selling trend probably.
Okay.
I had no idea. And again, we were irresponsible in not looking into those things. So yes, full responsibility. It was our fault that it happened. But the fact that they can just pull the plug on anybody in the middle of the night without any warning, without any, you know, like, hey, you can't do that. They just did it out of again literally in the middle of the night at like 12 something a.m. The channel was disappeared. And I don't, man. Again,
and then it was back, and then all of a sudden it was back. Could you believe it? Were you kind of in shock when it came back? Like, I can't believe it until I see it.
So when we got in touch with Jorge and I realized like, oh wait, he's legit and he actually does work there, I started kind of believing that it could happen. So when we actually got that call, yes, I celebrated. I was stoked. I was really happy. But I started kind of like feeling like, oh wait, I think we're gonna be okay because like it just doesn't seem right. A channel with I think we had 340,000 subscribers at that time that had never had any, you know, we've never done anything wrong, to just in the middle of the night, boom, gone. And I'm thinking like, man, we're a really good channel to be partnered up with YouTube because we're bringing a lot of views and attention to YouTube. If I'm YouTube, I'm thinking, yeah, actually, no, I think I do want them a part of my platform because they bring a lot of attention, revenue, and a lot of good views to our platform. To erase this relationship over the last 6 years, right? Like I started the YouTube channel from 0, right? It had no subscribers to over 300,000, to say like, this one time that you guys did something is worth removing all of this. It seems silly to me, right? That doesn't make any sense at all. And so when I started thinking about
a lot of stuff there doesn't make sense though. A lot of stuff there doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I guess I was looking at it from like a business perspective. I'm like, this just doesn't make any sense. And then
they got rid of that guy. Will can do it.
Yeah, they got rid of a lot of people.
and I think his channel was fucking enormous.
Huge. Yeah, huge. Yeah, I don't remember why. Maybe
I don't know why they got rid of him either.
Yeah. So when we got a hold of Jorge, and then, you know, I'm like, oh wait, this actually might happen where we don't have to restart all the way over. Like, okay. And then we got the phone call, and then yeah, I was very, very happy. And I'm like, all right, cool. Let's get right back to work. You know, and
is that really his name or is that his code name?
No, it's really Jorge. I can't pronounce his last name. I don't remember it either, but no, yeah, Jorge's the man.
Wow, that's wild. And do you guys have some people's YouTube stations? When I worked at when I was running the media department at CrossFit, we had a direct contact at YouTube. Like we had someone who's an account manager or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had some people on the show, I think like who have who is it? Tommy G. I had this guest on the show, Tommy G. He's got a big account, and he has someone he can run all his shows by even before he airs them. So that they can be like, hey, you probably shouldn't show that prostitute doing that, and he cuts that out. You know what I mean? Like he does these this guy.
Okay.
So they give him a heads up, or like someone's carrying a gun and he's like, hey, maybe you should blur that out.
Yeah, 1.39 million subscribers. That's definitely
holy shit.
That's
when I first
get you some access for sure.
Yeah, and I think when we and you know who else I think has a YouTube account manager is DeLauer.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, he has someone over there too.
He's somebody else that I'm talking to about like helping out with like the podcast side of things too. He
Right.
was since we had him here, he was like, I need to fly you out, and so hopefully that works out as well. So we I think we applied for that sort of thing a while ago, and we, I don't remember what happened. It doesn't get denied. You just don't hear anything back. I think
Of course.
our guy is now Jorge though. He's like, hey, if you're ever unsure and you want to run something by me, just go ahead and like send it over, and I'll tell you right away. So yeah, we got something better than just like somebody that's their job. We got somebody that's like a friend of ours now, and he's like, he loves the show, and so he's just like part of the crew. And so again, like there's a lot of cool stuff that came of this. Now in the moment it sucked, but seeing the waves of support from everybody was so huge. Like
Yeah.
I was getting, I could not keep up with DMs. Like I was trying, like I already do a bad job of that, so I need to be better like you. But I literally could, like, I'd hit refresh and I would just get so many more. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, working on it, working on it. Like, we're not giving up. We're not going to stop fighting. We're going to get the channel back, and stuff like that. And another cool thing is, like, I got DMs where people were like, hey, the super training channel is still up. I don't know what you guys are talking about. And I'm like, oh no, we're talking about the podcast channel. Oh, you guys have a podcast?
Oh shit. That's good.
So in regards, like, again, like even in our own freaking, like in Mark's fan base, there's people that don't know he has a podcast. So there's always going to be somebody new that's going to download a podcast. So going back to the earlier conversation, the podcasting space is still wide open. But yeah, man, it was a huge pouring of love from people that love the show, and then meeting up with Jorge, and then kind of like looking at it like, wow, I think I was taking this for granted. Every day I don't go a day without clicking on a YouTube, period. Like
Right,
I go to
right.
YouTube every single day, driving, getting ready, whatever it may be. Like, oh, let's check out YouTube. Not even for my own stuff, to learn stuff, to get entertainment, whatever it may be. I use YouTube every single day, and I love YouTube. And the fact that our channel got taken down really, really hurt. When we got it back, it was a huge dose of relief. And then also, like, hey, you were taking this for granted. Like, you need to appreciate this even more. So on top of that, like, now I'm backing everything up even better, trying to be more organized with my stuff. Cause again, I have, like, those big like Costco like tubs, the black and yellow ones. I have multiple like 8 terabyte hard drives just full. Like those things are just full of these things. And I'm like, dude, I need to go and
I get
organize those things, and
I hear
prioritize
you.
that thing. Yeah. So
Yeah. You're gonna have those for 50 years. You're gonna die and someone's gonna find that crate. I know. I don't know what to do with all my old hard drives. It's
yeah.
nuts. Hundreds of them. Hey, Andrew, I've always used, my kids do jujitsu. They've been doing it since forever, right? And they do it 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week, and we visit studios when we travel places and all that stuff. But I've always used it as an excuse to not do it because of my lower back. And I don't want, my lower back hasn't gone out in a few years, but it's because I've really cut back on lifting heavy shit off the ground. At least that's what I tell myself. You started jujitsu and you got some back health, like you got some reprieve from your back pain.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had back pain for nearly 2 decades.
Yeah, that's probably me.
Yeah, it essentially, I think where it came from was essentially sitting down for 12 years and never getting up. I had a job where I would drive for 6 to 8 hours a day, and I did that for 6 years. Then the next job was in that medical records job where I sat down for 8 hours straight for 6 years. And then, I'd get up and be like, oh, no, my back's feeling a little funny. I started working with Mark, and then at super training, I ended up like going for like a heavy squat for me. Like I've always been super skinny. So I was like 165 pounds. And I want to say the squat was it was like 235. Right. And this was after hitting a PR of 225. I just kept going up by like, 2.5, 5 plates. Like I 5 pounds. I mean, I just kept going up and up and up and up to try to see like where I would go. And somebody was watching me, but they weren't giving me good advice because like, no, you look great. You can definitely do more. And so like as I'm coming up, I get spooked, right? Like I don't have the confidence to do it. And so I throw the weight off my back. But when I did that, I kind of like pinched my spine, I guess I'll say. Got a little hernia probably, or herniated disc. And the next day I bent down to pick up a bar to deadlift, and like the pain was insane. I
Yeah.
couldn't move, I couldn't walk, I couldn't get into my car, I couldn't get out of the car. And that was the start of like one of the most depressing like years of my life because I couldn't move. My wife had to like help me put on my socks and my shoes. Everything I did was controlled by my back, right? Like if I have to go down to pick something up, I have to stabilize myself and like slowly be careful to get it up. I can't brush my teeth. I can't flush the toilet the right way. Like everything was compromised because of my back. So
Did you have a kid at that time? Did you have a kid?
So I have my stepdaughter since the beginning of all of this, but she was already at an age where she can take care of herself and stuff. So it wasn't too bad. Like I wasn't holding her anymore at that point, right?
That's my dread in the last 3 years, or since the last time I hurt my back 3 years ago, I had to like crawl and pee in the shower. And I was like, hey, I'm never putting myself through this again because I got to take care of my kids.
Right. So
my shit always went away like in a week.
Okay.
I never stayed for as long as yours, but it would come for a week and it would be just like just how you described.
Yeah, it's man, it's definitely the most demoralizing thing, right? Like you're I don't yeah, for
I would
me,
stop popping drugs. I would pop drugs. I would pop a lot of Vicodin and a lot of alcohol just to
okay.
completely numb it. That's what I would do. And walk. And I would force myself to like walk. Force myself.
Yeah. Damn, man. Yeah, so I'm
High on
grateful.
drugs and walking. That was my cure.
I'm grateful that I never went down like any prescription route or anything, but I remember when I went to the doctor after I did that squat thing and I couldn't move and stuff. I'm not joking. This isn't hyperbole. This isn't me being dramatic. That first day they wanted to schedule me for surgery. They were like, your back is in really bad shape. The x-rays, right? Not even an MRI. The x-rays show that it's a blown herniated disc and you're never going to be able to lift again. I wish I was lying when I say this, but they were like, we need to schedule you in for surgery as soon as possible because this isn't going to go away. There's no way to fix this. I ran out of there. I could not wait to get out of that office because I knew I just wasn't going to do surgery. Like there's just no way that I was going to do that. So again, as time moved on, like I would do okay. I never stopped working out, but obviously I had to alter everything, right? Like I wasn't really strong at deadlifts because of this. And so like, I'd always be like super shaky and stuff, but it was always compromising everything, unfortunately. So a couple things happened. So first I met my buddy, Doug Brignoli, who, not sure if you heard of him, but he's just an old stubborn man that had an awesome way of training. And he it sucks, but he died recently also because but the reason why it got so popularized was because he said basically like, you're all idiots, do the research, the vaccines are totally fine, use me as an example. If I die suddenly, then you'll know you were right. He died suddenly.
Your homeboy died?
Yeah, he's older guy, but he died. Yeah.
What did he die from? A heart attack or a stroke? Clotting?
I forgot what the death certificate said, but it seemed like it was very apparent that it was the thing that we all were telling him that's going to happen, and it happened. Yes, he was shredded. Yes, he was jacked. He was old. He was on 200 milligrams of TRT, but he wasn't abusing it, and he was in great shape. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, maybe that's the right guy. I'm not sure.
Fact check these nuts.
So anyway,
God, the fact check is such a joke.
When I met him, he showed me a cool, yeah, that is him. Dougie, damn it, freaking boomer. He was so cool. He was just so damn aggressive, right? Like if you went against what his beliefs were, he yelled at you and told you were wrong. But when it came to training, he had his awesome way of implementing biomechanics and just really focusing on muscle growth. So he had what he called the Brig 20. I believe his website is still up, dougbrignoli.com. And he has like, yeah, dude, he was jacked. So this was him.
Oh
young.
shit.
Yeah, this was him really young and training a different way. But look at that on the left side. That's him when I met him. Like
Wow.
just insanely shredded, just super jacked. And again, just in his 60s, looking better than a lot of people. And so with his Brig 20 movements, he didn't use a barbell at all. It was all cable machine stuff.
Wow.
And at that time, I was like kind of just chasing the pump because like I couldn't really squat anymore. I couldn't do a deadlift without being in insane pain. So I'm like, let me just focus on like chasing the pump. And then I met him and he's like, yeah, I don't use a barbell. And he was in insane shape. I'm like, dude, I need to learn more. Dove deep into all of his stuff, learned everything, all the ins and outs of like this like biomechanics approach to training. I started to get jacked and I wasn't in any pain from the workouts. All of a sudden, the workouts started making me feel better the way they're supposed to. So I minimized those injuries and I minimized the overall pain that was in that came
Can you
from
squat
training.
now? Can you air squat now? Can you
Yeah,
squat
no,
now?
I can squat. Yeah, I'm good with that now. And then we'll get to the.
I guess
jiu-jitsu
if you're
stuff.
doing jiu-jitsu, yeah, you have
Yeah,
to be able.
yeah.
Right.
So that helped alleviate some pain. Then I met the guys over at Goda. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that whole movement. They get pretty aggressive online as well. It's kind of like it's them, functional patterns, and then my boy David Weck. Like everybody's always arguing
Oh, right.
about like the proper movement patterns and what's natural and what's this, what's that. I don't care. I just pick and choose a little bit from all of them, and they're all really good people.
Wick's
But
wild, huh? Wick's a cool. What a trippy cat. He's been on the show. I really enjoyed him. He's such high
yeah,
energy.
I
Yeah.
love Mr. Weck, man. He's always so fiery. He's funny because he'll be like, "Oh yeah, that was actually after the second time I went crazy, not the third time actually."
Right. 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 Right.
So even with David Weck stuff, like I started following these like I'll call them postures and like learning how to like move my body correctly, not standing with my feet duck footed, and putting all the weight on my heels and kind of what Goda will say, getting in your back chain. So instead of like slouching over, actually like arching the back and relieving some of that pain. I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't know I could actually just do that with moving myself. So I got to the ground and I started doing these movement patterns, not necessarily stretches, but just stuff that started again alleviating the pain. So as I'm doing that, I'm starting to feel even better. I'm walking more. I'm walking with my feet straight, realizing like, oh, this is actually feeling like I'm decompressing my back right now because I'm not walking with my right foot out and my left foot straight. Right. That's just how I walked for some reason. That's just what happened. And then once I straightened everything out, like I could feel everything starting to like decompress. It was wild. It was a crazy experience.
So it started with awareness.
Yes, that's exactly the best way to put it. I started understanding like, oh shoot, like I'm always slouched over one way or the other, or I walk like a duck, or I'm just, I'm just not paying attention. I'm just sloppy with everything, all of my movements. Once my coach Gary Scheffler, he's one of the co-owners of Goda, he worked with me, helped get me out of pain, helped me just be more mobile too. It felt great. Then came jujitsu, and oh, sorry, real quick, another guy, Movement Doc. Forgot his actual name, but he's at Movement Doc on Instagram. He told me like, okay, cool. Now that we've alleviated the pain from getting in their back chain, let's focus on like rolling it out the other way, and like so, like basically like elongating and extending and like crunching and doing that sort of thing, like a cat cow. Then I got into jujitsu. And all these positions that I was terrified to be in, right? Like, wait, you want me to be on the floor and have my feet up in the air and then potentially being crunched down, or just have somebody's pressure on my stomach to like just blow out my, my sternum and my spine and all this? Like, no, there's no way I can't do that. But what ended up happening was, yeah, that's my boy right there. Robbie Ellis. Sorry, sir. That's his name. So what happened was I start getting put into these weird positions, and that somehow unlocks like it, it's sort of like it started greasing the groove. That's what happened. Right? I started being put in these weird positions where I'm literally like my heels are over my head as somebody's like passing my guard. and I don't break. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So it started just building up so much resilience, and it started unlocking, like, it's sort of like when you have like a pain, like a pain area where like you can brush up against it. And it's like, oh, I know I can only bend over this far before the pain starts hurting. It blew right past that. And now all of a sudden there's no longer that wall. I can just go straight through it.
Wow.
Yeah. And we had Dr. Gil Headley on the show. Amazing human. He was explaining how like things can get like calcified and like like the less you move it, the more cemented stuff can get inside your body. And he's like, what you were doing was you were getting fluid back into those spots that you never moved, right? Because as you have back pain, like, okay, I have to brace myself here. I can't, I can't bend over. I can't curl over. I can't do all these things.
Right.
I have to be careful, right? I have to be stable. Like you're going for like the world record squat. You got to, and tighten up the belly and do all these things. He's like, when you started moving and getting put into these bad situations, bad positions, what you did was you brought fluid back to those dry areas, and you started softening those areas, and you started gaining mobility, and you started being able to move in those ways without pain. And so that's really what it was that kicked it off. And dude, almost 2 decades of back pain gone because of jiu-jitsu, along with the other things I did.
Right.
Jiu-jitsu was like the last nail in the coffin. Like, hey, you don't have back pain anymore. So you're no longer a person with back pain. Don't identify as that, because you're good.
Yeah.
And I really, really like had like a whole, burial of back pain when I competed. So yeah, that's me. Look at that, dude. Like, there's no way I would have been able to do that, a little bit like a while ago. That's Gil Headley. Dude's amazing. But dude, I love jiu-jitsu. It's so much fun. And again, getting put into those weird spots and then being on the attacking side. There's Charlie Zamora. Not sure if you're familiar with him, but
you know what I saw? By the way, that's a great story. I love hearing that.
yeah. So definitely, dude, I encourage you to get into it just to get familiar with rolling on the ground. That
Did
sort
you?
of.
Well, I do a lot of that. I do lie on the ground a lot with my kids, and I try to let them pass my guard, right? And I do that until I'm pouring in sweat, or I try to pass their guard, without, just using strength. I do roll around with them a lot.
Mhm.
I'm still pretty mobile. I just don't want to be injured, right? And
Yeah.
I can still move good. I can still squat, ass to grass. I can still do, pull-ups. I can run around. I can throw a frisbee. But I just when I wake up in the morning, it still hurts, and so like I have to work through that for the first 2 or 3 hours. But you're right. I need to try. I need to start doing some formal jiu-jitsu. Did you see this guy compete 2 nights ago?
I missed it, but dude, Nicholas Marigali's my dude. He's so incredible.
I cannot believe what an animal this guy is. He
So
called Nicky Rod Nicky Fraud. Just right up there on stage. I was like, holy shit, dude.
Dude, the beef between those two camps is so good for jiu-jitsu, but I know people in both camps, and it I don't, man, I just it sucks, right? Because it's like watching your two groups of friends not like each other, and you're like, you guys are more similar. Like, I mean, they all used to be one group, and that's what happened. Like, they all split up in their own ways.
And I
would
really
love to
like
see
Craig
it now.
Jones and Nicky Rod and J Rod too. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it was so fun watching them compete.
All good guys.
Craig
Yeah.
Jones is insane.
Yeah, and he's so funny, dude. I want to have that guy on the show.
Dude,
but yeah, no,
they said,
Marigali's
Andrew,
incredible. What's up?
when Craig Jones won this weekend at UFC Fight Pass, they put the mic in his face, and they're like, they asked him a question. He goes, "First, I just want to thank my sponsors. None of this would be possible without steroids." I mean, just straight transparency.
I gotta clip that. I gotta post that somewhere.
Dude, it's crazy. And the commentator doesn't even know what to do. He's like, yeah, here it is.
I want to give it up. I wouldn't be here today without the power of steroids. Thanks to my sponsor, Evertime. If he's a coupon code, beat him.
It's like, holy shit.
You can see the guy with the microphone, and he like looks over at somebody like, what should I do right now?
And that's a who is that? That's Piazza. That's an accomplished UFC fighter, right? So I mean, the UFC's not used to that kind of a transparency. I don't know if it looks like the UFC is going to take over the jiu-jitsu scene.
Man, I don't know. I have no idea on that side of things.
It
I
was an
just-
amazing show. I would go. That UFC Fight Pass was amazing. It was incredible.
Yeah, Flow Grappling does a really good job with that sort of stuff too.
No, that
Uh,
wasn't Ken Florian. That was Mike Piazza. But I understand. But I respect the confusion. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, Flow Grappling does a really good job. Like their events are really good as well. All the IBJJF stuff, I'm a nerd for it, so I really love watching it. I like watching dudes in the gi because that's how I train in the gi also. I like kind of slowing things down and having grips. Every time I've done no gi, I get like kicked in the nuts or something weird happens where I get like a not like a injury, but I'm just like, fuck, I'm gonna feel that tomorrow.
And this guy's the best in the gi in the world, right? And now
I
he's
would-
he's switching to no gi, and he's saying he's the best in the world at no gi. It's kind of amazing. He says he said in the show he's holding the mantle for his training partner Gordon Ryan.
Yeah, I would say that yes, he's definitely the best in the gi. In no gi, I think there's definitely an argument for it. The only thing is, I mean, not the only thing, but the amazing thing I should say is like he hasn't been training no gi for very long at all.
Right.
He is like a newbie when it comes to it, and he is making some very, very like insanely well established dudes. You know, like he fought oh shoot, I think it was a Kanan Duarte, and he just made him look bad. Like he literally just outclassed him. And here is a, you know, again, a very like well experienced grappler, and he's just like made him quit essentially. Marigali's such a nice guy too. He definitely has the like he's putting out the persona, like kind of like a Gordon Ryan thing. But talking to him in person, I'm sure Gordon's the same way. Dude, Marigali's an amazing instructor. I went out to Texas and I took his classes every single day that I was there. Amazing instructor. One of the coolest things ever was we were training, we were drilling the technique for the day, and people were like heavy mouth breathing. And he just stopped everybody. He's like, if you're breathing through your mouth, you are doing it wrong. You need to slow down, focus on technique, and breathe through your nose. I'm like, oh shit, like that's what I'm trying to do. You know, like that's what I've been focusing on. But it's cool that no one really talks about that unless it's like in me and Nsima or, you know, somebody that we have on the show in regards to like nasal breathing. But here he was really just stopping class saying, no, you need to be doing this. And the guy's a savage. He's being trained right now by my buddy Jimmy House. So that's why he's getting so damn strong. So he's got him deadlifting huge weight. He's got him doing all kinds of stuff. Jimmy is he's a black belt also. Dude's a savage. One of my brothers.
Doesn't that dude fight in the UFC? Does Jimmy House fight in the UFC?
No, he actually just got into like pro wrestling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean he'd probably do really well in the UFC. He's just literally built like a house, but he's just like a block of muscle that also moves extremely well. So yeah, that's definitely one of the key ingredients why Marigali is literally just running through people right now is because of that strength aspect that Jimmy's helping him with.
God, you know a lot of people. It's cool.
Podcasting is amazing, man. Like I just in regards to like even in like the CrossFit world, like, you know, like I now have hung out with Greg Glassman because of this show, you know, like that's pretty huge. I've podcasted with Rich Froning. That was also another incredible experience because when I first got into fitness, he was like my idol. Like he was like oh my gosh, like if I just keep training, maybe I'll look like him one day.
Right.
And then we podcasted. And so it was like, man, that, and then now even today, like stuff coming full circle is just incredible. And the relationships and the like the network of people that I now have is like, I'm just super grateful. It all came because of podcasting.
Wild.
Yeah.
Mark Bell now has a live show Thursday, which is cool. And Andrew has a website called purposepodcasting.com. Did I say that right?
Pursue podcasting.
Oh, look it. I can't even spell.
But
pursue.
yeah.
You should get purpose too. I like purpose too.
All right.
PursuePodcasting.com.
Yeah, and then so a cool thing that I wanted to do. So if anybody is interested, so like if you listening right now, if you've ever found yourself like commenting back on the podcast, because I used to do that all the time. I'd be in the car, somebody would say something and I would start talking to them too. I always wanted to do this, but like I just never had like a way to do it. I didn't even know where to start. So if you are that person, maybe you want to see like, hey, what does it take to actually like start a podcast in regards to like equipment and stuff? You can go to pursuepodcasting.com/Sevan and you guys will get a free podcast equipment purchasing guide. And I break down everything. I break down a ton of stuff as in regards to like video, audio. So that's me. Don't play that right now though. But you can
Look at there's all sorts of shit I don't even know about. Look at
yeah, you can scroll down and you'll see like there's a so there's a guide. So just fill that out and you'll get instant access to again a purchasing guide from everything from like audio, video, a little bit of software. I do a video breakdown of how I do this. And also like if you wanted to get started today, like you can get started for like less than $300. That includes microphone, camera, and lights. It's a really, really cool thing. I wanted to make it accessible for everybody. So like if money's an issue, like we can start very, very low, but get sounding really good and get looking really good. Or if you wanted to do like a more of a like if you have a bigger budget, you want to do this for like a company brand awareness or whatever, I have that in the guide as well. So again, dude, I'm just really grateful to be here. And if somebody is listening and you gave me your ears, then I am extremely grateful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for doing that. I love adding value to the customers. So it's pursuepodcasting.com/Sevan.
Yes.
That's cool. I didn't even know you were going to do that. That's crazy. Look at you.
Yeah, no, just again, taking this amazing opportunity that you've given me and just like not taking it for granted because I know the reach that a podcast can have. So I'm just extremely grateful. Yeah. And then
Awesome.
Instagram is at I am Andrew Z. That's across the board. I don't post that much, but I'm going to. It's just again, my head's. I've had the blinders on recording this podcast course just to try to make sure I leave no stone unturned because again, I want to help you launch, grow, and monetize your show.
Awesome. Hey, dude, you're as this thing evolves, if there's anything else you ever want to share, you're always welcome to come on the show. Like I said, we go every morning at 7 a.m. You have a lot of stories. We just barely scratched the surface. We can chop it up and talk about the first time someone took a nasty fart on the show. I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of funny stories. I really appreciate
poop stories. Yeah.
Poops, all that stuff. I really appreciate you coming on, Andrew, and I look forward to continuing the friendship and talking to you offline, man. You're a good dude.
Absolutely. No, I'm extremely grateful. Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it. And again, whatever, like, because we've been texting each other. So all those questions, whether it's you, Matt, Caleb, whoever, just you guys have my number now. So literally ask me any questions. I love to do this sort of thing. So yeah, let's just keep the conversation going.
All right, brother. Thank you. Say hi to Nsima and Mark for me. Thank you, and have a great day.
Will do. See you. Thank you.
Ciao. I can't even fucking breathe. Oh, I needed to blow my nose like 20 times. That's a great dude. That's a cool dude. What a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, no doubt. He's awesome.
Can we get Jorge's number? I know. God, I hope we never need it. Jesus Christ Almighty.
We're gonna need him on speed dial soon.
I apologize for saying Jesus. Oh,
God,
I know there's some great shows on today. I don't know what they are.
I think Get With The Programming is going to be on today.
Hey, I'm gonna offer that dude like a bag of gold coins. He lives an hour from me, or no, 2 hours, 3 hours from me, to come down and tinker in my studio.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask him.
He made it so easy. I was looking at that Amazon, like his little click through thing.
Yeah.
It's so easy. You can add everything that you would need, and it's everything you would need. Like if you were going to start from zero,
Yeah.
you just put it all in your cart, order it, and you can set it up on your own when you get here. The only thing that would suck is just cable management. That's it.
Sevan, answer my text message and I'll become a member of the show. Listen, I want to tell you something funny about text messages. So many of you have my phone number now, and I don't put people's names in when they come in. So just assume that half the time I'm talking to you, I really don't know who you are. So if you're like, great show, I'm like, thanks, dude. What are you doing today? You should know that that's just complete, like I fucking don't even know. I don't even have, like, I don't even know. That's what it. You're like, I'm texting Sevan, and I'm like, you guys are all just the same person to me. It's all just Jeremy. I just think he treats you. It's all just Jeremy Eat World.
I was gonna say it's Heidi, but Jeremy's cool too.
It's all just Heidi. Yeah, I think you're all just I don't even. Did you really text me, Frank? Dude, yesterday I went through and answered like 300 because I'm at Greg's house now, so I'm just chilling, and the kids were in the pool. I went through and answered 300 text messages. It must be so weird to people. Like they're like, hey, do you want to get lunch? And it's like 2 weeks later. I'm like, oh, no, sorry, I can't. But I don't even say, I don't even apologize for being late or nothing. Even from my own mom, dude, I'm opening text. My mom's like, I'm coming over to pick up the boys. And like, it's like a 2 weeks old text. And I just heart it.
You did that. There was a thread that somebody sent a message to, and I was like, hey, can I use this? And then
Oh, was that yesterday or a couple days ago?
Yesterday,
Yeah, the thumbnail. I remember that too.
Like I used that thumbnail like a month ago, 2 months ago.
My shit is a mess.
I was like, he must be going through it.
Yeah, it is a fucking mess. The thing is when I give people my phone number, like if I gave you my phone number, I don't give it out to everyone. I must like you or want to do something. Like there's this guy who wants to get the news, who's going to do the newsletter for us. I just don't have the fucking bandwidth right now to like figure out how we're going to do that.
It is a lot.
But he'll do the whole thing. I just need to call him and just be like, okay. It's like, oh, we got someone doing the subclip station now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sweet. That'll be awesome.
And I think I found someone who will do the Portuguese station.
Ooh.
Yeah, I went through my Instagram too. I know yesterday I had hours and hours just sitting by the pool.
Sounds nice.
Can you pull up some of our friends? Like does Get With The Programming has a show today? Does
Around the Whiteboard has or Coffee Pods and Wads has an Around the Whiteboard today.
Okay.
That one's today. Let's see what time.
Who's on that? Tyler.
Yeah. Tyler Watkins, Nick Johnston from Proven.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Josh Murillo, actually.
Oh, shit. So Haley Adams, coach, the CEO of Proven, and our very own the founder of the Heat One app. Wow, crazy. Okay.
Okay, I'm starting to hate this new YouTube layout. What the fuck?
Oh, I hate it. So lame.
But should be a good episode for those three. Be interesting.
Did you see we had another record day yesterday? Did you see the numbers this morning? They're fucking insane, by the way.
Are they? I haven't looked at it.
They're insane. I looked during the middle of the show. Normally, I it's like when Andrew was like, I check YouTube every day. I was like, fuck, I haven't checked the numbers this morning. They're fucking nuts.
That's awesome. I thought Get With The Programming had one today. They're just releasing it this afternoon.
I thought Get With The Programming did like a leaderboard show.
Yeah, they did one yesterday. It was the 24.1 recap.
Oh, okay.
Hiller just came out with his episode of with Emma Lawson, little documentary, I guess, with her.
Oh yeah, because he ran into her at the Arnold. Okay, that's cool.
That's pretty crazy. Who else?
All right.
Yeah, I think that's it. Sorry if I forgot you.
Get With The Programming has prediction show today. Oh, okay.
Oh, there you go.
So they do have something. Oh, look here. Look it. Here's my name. Save it. I'm just texting. Okay. You know what's cool is for some reason. Oh, I don't even have my phone near me. When people text you, I like it when it says maybe it's so and so. So that way you can just go add them to your contacts. I hate having to type in people's names and shit.
I think that's when somebody says, "Hey, this is like, hi, this is Caleb." Blah 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 blah. So then it's like, "Oh, this could be Caleb," and then you can just add it from there. So if you text them, just put your name in there, and then it'll pop up like that.
Okay, I'm saving you into my computer, but my computer is not connected to my phone. I can share my location with you. No, thank you.
Yeah, it looks like Get With The Programming has an episode in about an hour 15.
Okay, so
So right
that
before Coffee Pods and Wads, you can watch Get With The Programming, and then it'll run right into Coffee Pods and Wads.
okay. Tomorrow we have 3 shows, guys. Tomorrow's nuts.
Whew.
So tomorrow morning we start with oh yeah. I know who this guy is. This is the guy whose daughter's like oh, that's so funny. I know this account more than I know you, Frank. Winter DeBach. His daughter has 18,000 followers on Instagram. She did 24.1.
Can you
I'm
hear
gonna
that?
send you. Oh no, is it
Okay,
dogs
good.
barking? Dogs eating your
No,
cat?
the tornado siren's going.
No shit.
Yeah. See.
You're not scared?
No, it's first Wednesday of the month. They always play it.
So this is the dude in the chat, Frank. This is his daughter's YouTube account. This is crazy.
Oh my god. That's incredible.
Oh, look, we can see Frank too in this one. Jesus Christ, Frank, what are you, 14?
Yeah, no shit.
You have a kid already?
Do you adopt her or something?
Show some patience, dude. Never heard of contraception? Oh my God, that is
Oh
adorable.
my god, you're kidding me. What is she, like 4, 3?
Maybe even younger, dude.
I need to start getting my niece to do that. Fuck, that's crazy. I just started getting my niece to use the rings in our house. She just started swinging from them. And now every time she comes over, she just wants to run up and down with the rings.
Yeah, that's how it starts. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. And then we started just like picking her up and putting her on the pull-up bar and having her do pull-ups. And we made obstacle courses with the plates and stuff. And she loves it. That's awesome.
God, kids are so fucking cool. Let me see that stroke. Damn. Damn.
Better than Avi.
Damn. Damn. Fuck. I'm gonna make some more kids tonight.
Now that you've responded to all your DMs and text messages, you got time?
Yeah. Damn. Your kids are doing tennis too, Frank? That is awesome. God, watching my kids play tennis is insane. All right. Oh, so tomorrow morning I have Haley Adams and Hiller on at the same time. You guys should go nuts in the comments. Ask any questions you want. Like, did they bone? Shit like that. And then right after they announced 24.2. Well, last time I told you we were going to come on after they announced 24.2, but we came on before. So I don't know. But around noon, it's an all-star cast. It's me, it's Grundler, it's JR, Taylor, and John Young. I mean, that show is going to be dope. Will you be here for that, Caleb, for the announcement show?
Thursday?
Tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, and Caleb. So like 6 windows full. It's going to be fun. And then in the evening, we'll do just an update show. We'll talk about 24.1. We'll talk about 24.2. And really, we'll just find out what the fucks. We'll talk about who thinks who's going to win between Taylor and Hopper. Because that's we're doing that show Friday night. That show is going to be off the hook. Oh, we're starting the show 1 hour early. We're starting it at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are starting the show 1 hour early, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I wonder if Jason and Taylor know that.
On Friday.
All right. That's it. Thanks again to Andrew Zaragoza for coming on. What a good dude. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.